fabulous business bringing the kids here. Bringing the kids here, we wanted, well, we were coming, first of all, so they go wherever we go. Second of all, we weren't too worried about like bringing the kids to a foreign country because if the family's happy and the parents are working out, then the kids are happy too. They go where the parents go. Found great schools here. Our kids have learned another language, which is fantastic. It just wasn't happening at home.
They're now bilingual.
They're completely
and bicultural.
They have the choice now. Like we growing up couldn't even conceive of the choice of living somewhere else. They, like our son Josh, who's 19 now and who's back in Canada going to school,
to university.
He really has two cultures in him now. He has his home because Canada's his home and we're Canadian, so he's not a Mexican kid. He's just not. We're not Mexican and he's not Mexican, but the whole country of Mexico, he really relates to that and he understands. He's so much more rounded than kids who have just grown up at home. And plus, when he went back to school, I mean, everybody thinks it's the most awesome thing in the whole world. They're like, you live in Mexico? No way! One of the really good things about being here is the kids' classes, because there's lots of classes for the kids and they're really affordable. And Julian loves to train in the gym, gymnastics, and in Canada, that kind of gymnastics training is so, first of all, viciously competitive, and second of all, really, really expensive.
That's right.
And Julian has opportunities here that he wouldn't have at home because of that.
Our younger son arrived here when he was 1, and our older son arrived when he was 9. So our younger son really has not had any experience living anywhere except in San Miguel. And he has become truly bilingual. You know, our older son is bilingual, but Julian grew up speaking both languages at the same time. And so he's just, you know, he doesn't know any different, and he has just been thriving here in San Miguel amongst his peers, and just, you know, he thinks it's a great place.
When we first put our kids in school here, our youngest it was basically in the equivalent of kindergarten, and she said, I do not want to learn Spanish. You cannot make me. I don't want to. And we're like,
fine, don't.
That's fine. You have to go to school though, and so that's fine. If you're okay, we're not going to make you learn Spanish. I know that all of the other kids on the playground, they only speak Spanish, but that's okay.
The problem with kindergarten for Elena was that the other teachers did speak English. And when she got into first grade, the teachers didn't speak English. Guess what? She learned Spanish.
Oh, even halfway through that first year in kindergarten, she had, I think, finally come around to the idea. You know, there's some kids that are having all this fun. I want to play with them. I want to communicate with them. So she had gotten around to it. If the kids always have a sense that there's a really strong chance that they'll leave, those kids they never let up. They'll work their parents into submission and say, fine, okay, let's go.
So even if you're coming for a year or two,
just let your kids know.
Have a clear plan.
Have a clear plan. We jumped in with both feet. We sold everything and moved down here. When it comes to the kids, they need to know that this is what we're doing now. This is where we live now for whatever reason.
For however long that you're going to be here, and just make sure that they understand, and so that they can really dive in and try and learn the language. What I would tell parents that if they're coming down here with older kids, maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is don't go for the American schools. Go for a private bilingual school, because if you're only coming here for a year or two, the reason is really for their kids to learn Spanish. And if you enroll them in a school where they don't speak Spanish, they're not going to learn Spanish.
San Miguel, for me, is the most magical place to raise children because of the lifestyle, the absence of consumerism, the rich culture, which is where you get which is what fills you instead of filling yourself with spending. In my daughter's classroom, she goes to a private Montessori school here. She has, I call her a Mexi gringa, because she's half gringa from my side, and her father is Mexican. And in her classroom, there are at least probably 7 other Mexi gringos, as well as at least 3 Europeans, several full Mexican children, kids from all over. In her classroom, they speak German, French, several languages, which is, to me, that's an absolute luxury that my daughter is in a school where she's exposed to all of that. Not just that, but their cultures. to see what the kids bring for lunch even is exciting. It's a bilingual school which focuses on holistic education, not just intellectual IQ, but emotional IQ and the children's spirit. She has yoga class once a week in the morning. And it's extremely affordable. In US dollars right now, I think it would be about $200 a month for this wonderful care that my daughter is getting. I have a rich social group here of parents from all over the world we've all come together to San Miguel for a reason, because we love the simple lifestyle. We all use natural health care. We can call on each other for whatever we need. We share child raising responsibilities. Whereas in the United States, we say it takes a village to raise a child. In Mexico, they say it takes a family. Your family, family, family. But in San Miguel, there's a beautiful, rich mixture of both.
I don't have a comparison. My kids were born here. I've never tried to raise them in the States, so I don't know what it's like to raise kids in the States. I think it's more relaxed here. I think that I'm happy that my kids have escaped the pressure to wear or acquire brand name things and clothing. Right now, we're in high school thinking about college, and so we're catching up with all the testing and all that pressure, but we've lived without it pretty much until about now. The kids are 14 and 16. They go to school, they come home, they ride their horses. It's a nice life, I think, without a lot of unnecessary pressure. My sister came, she spent 2 years here from Dallas. Her boys were 4, 8, and 9 when they came, and she put all 3 of them in schools. They went home 2 years later speaking perfect Spanish. William, the middle boy, who's very athletic, is sought all over Dallas in his age group as a soccer player. He became a very good soccer player. Played soccer every day at recess. And here in San Miguel.
We came down here because we wanted our kids to have a second language and a second culture. We came down here, we talked with a few parents that were already here, a few of the schools. We went and visited the schools. Now the school options are so much larger. Before there was really only one school that was sort of kind of fit our Montessori idea. And now it just seems to have opened up all over the place. We decided we were going to come down here for 2 years. After about 2 weeks, 2 months maybe that much. I think it was only 2 weeks. We looked at each other and said, I don't think we're going back. And then they went over to Vic's school, which was fantastic. The quality of teachers that they have there, and that the teachers are human beings there was very kind of interesting. And my kids came back with a lot of stories about the personalities of the teachers, but also the type of study that Vic did was really interesting, and it was delightful to get reports back on my children's progress. Not just that the grade was better than last year, but how they were developing as their character and working with the rest of the school. That was very nice. Some of the schools are a little more traditional, and pretty much, you turn your homework in and you behave in class and that's it. But I think there's a change in that too. And there are the children that are so happy in that school. The kids who were here, the school was mixed. We wanted them, of course, to be in a Mexican school. We didn't want them to be in a school with a bunch of little gringos running around speaking only English. The idea was that they would learn Spanish and learn the culture. Here in this town, it is a really relaxed town. And so when you're walking around here, there is not a lot of energy of having to get things done. That really has to be something that the families have to make sure that the kids are feeling and experiencing. When you go to Guanajuato, when you go to Mexico City, there's a direction, there's a power of movement, and you can see that in the kids and in the students there. And here it's just a little more relaxed. You can walk and visit your friends. You can go hang out in the Jardín. I am so glad that they spent the time here, because they feel more open to other people or other peoples. And as far as what I can see, they kind of roll with the punches a little bit more, but they have an opinion, but they listen better. They're not structured into this box. And again, not that that's the way it is in the United States, but I can tell when they come back how much they are just more relaxed with, being more open to other ideas. Fantastic. It's so great. So great for a kid to have 2 languages. It's unbelievable, and it's very interesting to watch, to say, you know, hey, how do you say this? Bang. The way they can think in it's like almost 3-dimensional to be able to have that language. And now when they're in high school in the States, they're taking Greek and they're taking French, and so they have all this heads up on being able to use different languages. What happened in the beginning when we were here, because we were one of the first families here, it seems to be like there was this big generation of families that came, and so all of those kids are growing up, and we kind of stuck together. And people would say, oh my gosh, be careful, you know, the kids can walk into a bar and they can drink. But the difference was we had so many more parental eyes out, and a lot of the parents are out. And so I really felt that we were working kind of as a little community, that I would have the courage to say to you, hey, I think I saw your son the other night or whatever, even though that's not the Mexican way. You usually don't say that you saw anybody, but with kids we would do that. And so I felt really safe that my kids were having a lot more exposure to adults. There is a much bigger combining of adults with kids here. She did great.